Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bhumandal Talk series. This is the fourth in the edition. And today we have with us Dr. M.B. Rajani. She's a professor at NIAS. And today she's going to give us a talk on patterns in past settlements, geospatial analysis of imprints and of cultural heritage on landscapes. This is based on her book, which is recently published. And now I'd like to invite Professor Saroj to introduce the speaker for the day.
Thanks, Dr. Jay, for giving me the opportunity to introduce the speakers of today's talk. Good afternoon, Dr. Rajani. Dr. M.B. Rajani is an associate professor at the National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore. She received the Ratchapudi Kamakhi Memorial Young Geospatial Scientist Award in 2011 for her PhD work. She is a member of the Indian National Young Academy of Science during 2018 and 2022, a young affiliate 2019 to 2023 of the World Academy of Sciences, and recipient of Indian Society of Remote Sensing PR Peaceworthy Memorial Award in 2019. Dr. Rajani's research has two interrelated facets. One is analyzing cultural landscapes using geospatial data to identify new features of archaeological interest and advancing the usage of such analysis for preserving built heritage in the face of rapidly growing infrastructure development and urbanization. Our primary scientific contributions has been to develop a methodology for detecting telltale signs of past human activities on landscape from satellite imagery and integrating these findings with other spatial data to generate new inferences and novel hypotheses about the past. Her work has therefore expanded the field of archaeology to include the study of human impact on landscape. Our findings based on remote sensing analysis at the site Talakadu, which is published in 2009 to 10, were confirmed after 8 years later through conventional excavation. And our analysis of Nalanda has revealed the larger archaeological expenses around the protected site. With this, I would like to invite Dr. Rajani to take the stage and deliver her talk. Please welcome Dr. Rajani. You can start.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity, Dr. Jaya, and thank you, Dr. Saroj, for the introduction. This is a book that has just come out. I have worked on it for the last 4 to 5 years. So it's been a longish stint working on this book. So the book intends to sort of show how we can use GIS and remote sensing for archaeological applications. With or without our consent, details from our daily lives are being captured and stored in vast digital databases. If humanity were to vanish tomorrow and alien historians chanced upon these databases, centuries hence, they would have incredibly rich resources for studying humanity's past. As humans in the 21st century trying to understand our own past, we have no comparably detailed database to tap into. Instead, we must scavenge for traces of past human activity that have survived in material form and develop expertise in interrogating these material before their secrets fade into oblivion. To scrutinize written records, we turn to historians. We rely on archaeologists to scrutinize ancient material, ranging from small-scale fragments to pottery and bricks to large-scale artifacts such as individual buildings and in whole settlements. In each of these domains, scholars have benefited from scientific developments that are constantly expanding the kinds of ancient material that are interrogable and technological advances that enhance our ability to extract useful information from them. This book is an introduction to a branch of archaeology that scrutinizes landscapes, such as this, for instance, at Nalanda. Humans necessarily scar the landscape when they construct structures, forts, canals, tanks, and road networks. These scars, which can survive for many centuries, are also material records of past human activity and are therefore worthy of study. However, these scars are difficult to discern at ground level, and their value was largely unrecognized until they were observed from an aerial perspective, initially from aircraft and more recently from satellites. Lieutenant Colonel Beasley, a sapper of Royal Engineers in Mesopotamia during the First World War, spotted distinct outlines of ancient canals in the course of his repeated flights over the Tigris-Euphrates plain, that enemy territory at the time, while carrying out a survey of contested area beyond Baghdad. He wrote, "The remains of an ancient city were disclosed, which would have not otherwise have been discovered in all probability. It was the old Samara." A more recent example here is a false color image of Bangalore. 1791 map of Bangalore, which shows a four-cornered settlement and an oval-shaped citadel to its south. If you carefully analyze the satellite image, we can identify where exactly was the old settlement. If you carefully analyze the satellite image, we can identify where exactly was the old settlement. We can still see its pattern. Apart from such images, analysts can pull together spatial data from other sources, including old maps, paintings, textual records, and field surveys. Here is an example from Kollam. Here is a map of Kollam of 1630, another map of 1635, a third map of 1687, and then we have a drawing of a little later, which shows the Portuguese fortress from the bay, and then we have remains in the on the ground, ruins which is protected. And now when we analyze it geospatially, we can actually see where the Portuguese fort and the Dutch fort and what remains now in a spatial context. This coherent spatial view allows an analyst to hunt for visual patterns in a landscape in a manner akin to an art historian examining a painting through an appropriate historical lens. Furthermore, just as a modern art historian uses technology to scrutinize what lies beneath the uppermost layer of paint, advances in technology of remote sensing permit satellites to view landscape in different wavelengths and reveal hidden layers of human artifacts. The purpose of such analysis is to identify, understand, conserve, and protect remnants of our past. This field, therefore, brings together knowledge from archaeology history, art history, architectural history, heritage science, geoarchaeology, geomorphology, remote sensing, GIS, and cultural heritage conservation and management. Although I'm not an expert in all these domains, my research group has brought elements from each of these domains to bear in investigating landscapes surrounding several archaeological sites, and we have had the immense satisfaction of contributing to our overall understanding of these sites. While all these sites are situated in India, here is a map showing all the sites that we have worked on, but most of the sites are in Indian subcontinent. My research has helped me recognize and articulate universal principles that I'm excited to present in this book. Okay, so here is a map that I was speaking about, which marks all the places that I have dealt with in the book. I hope this book will be of interest to at least 3 groups of readers. I will elaborate on these groups of audience from my book after a brief on chapters. The book has 7 chapters. Chapter 1 is an introduction to the field and should be of interest to all readers. It begins with definition of cultural heritage adopted from UNESCO's definition and highlighting that the primary focus is on built heritage. These structures constitute the known remnants of built heritage at a site. I'm talking about, say, a site that is protected, and it is possible that hitherto unknown remnants associated with the site still exist in its vicinity. Consider the vicinity of Nalanda, for instance. When we visit the site protected by Archaeological Survey of India, we see these 6 structures. They are called chaityas. They are sacred structures. And there are 10 dwelling structures called monasteries. Each has a central hall and surrounded by monastic cells. Yeah, so and there are 10 dwelling structures called monasteries. Each has a central hall and surrounded by monastic cells. For the next slide to come up, which is an infrared image showing the overall site, a synoptic image which shows how the monasteries and this sacred structures are located.
How do you identify these sites? Is that something that you do research upfront and then you find
Yes,
specific
so
sites?
far the sites I have worked on, I have taken up known sites, and I have
Okay.
tried to see the larger landscape of known sites
Okay.
to try and understand, because most of the cases, known sites are only one portion of what the actual site was. So we can get
Mm-hmm.
telltale signs in the larger landscape. So
Okay. Okay.
that's how I have been so far working on.
Okay. And none of these
Many,
sites are restricted access. They are all mostly
yeah.
publicly accessible sites, or they are preserved
Um,
and
this is the part that you're seeing for the picture of in this slide is the protected portion of the site.
okay.
Um,
Okay.
so that's why the slide that I'm waiting for it to load shows a map showing which is protected and which
Okay.
is, sort of the larger area.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so this infrared image shows the protected site of Nalanda and the area immediately around it. You can see the dotted line is actually the marks the boundary of the protected area, and you can see some blue buildings, not dotted blue, but solid blue lines marked as 3, 12, 13, 14. They are the sacred structures of which pictures I showed you, and the solid green lines, which are the monasteries. But and the dotted black line is the boundary of the protected area. But you can see some dotted blue and dotted green on the north and south of this protected area. These are something we were able to identify. And it's only not only identify, but also we can see how they are aligned with the protected site. Notice how 4 temples in the protected region lie in regular intervals along a straight north-south line. If Nalanda had more temples, one might expect them to lie further along this line. Sure enough, the infrared image suggests the presence of one unexplored mound on the south and one to the north. In the north, one can also see 2 crop marks at exactly the intervals we are expecting. The central thesis of this book is that a careful study of a site's vicinity or spatial context can lead to two important types of discovery that may improve our overall understanding of the site and inform our strategies for its protection. Firstly, the discovery of further instances or attributes of built heritage, and secondly, the discovery of artifacts such as former water body, canals, and mounds associated with past human activity at the site. Chapter 2 describes how landscape evolve over time and discusses the implications of this evolution for the analyst seeking to identify archaeological features from above. For instance, the well-known example of crop patterns in the fields first observed in aerial photos of World War I and II, this is not of the World War, but around the time, turned out to be surface impressions of buried fort wall and adjacent moat. Okay, but this is only one of many different ways a landscape can morph itself, which depends on what has been happening subsequently on the surface. Even in urban jungle-like cities, one can see, quote unquote, see traces of the past layout, which are inscribed as road or land use patterns. A ruined, disused wall becomes hindrance in mobility, and people and goods move along it, creating paths which over time become roads and remains as a permanent scar even expressions. Here is a 19th century map of Lalkot and Kilarai Pitora. Then a recent image. In most cases, recent Chapter 3 describes the various types of imaging technologies that are operational on contemporary and retired Earth observation satellites. This chapter helps the analyst answer the question, is this geospatial analysis for site of interest? This chapter also variations in the feature of interest. Look at the amount of urbanization. Military history measuring range of Tipu Sultan's rocket by analyzing satellite. The second group of readers who
Thanks, Rajni.
depends how what is the resolution and unsupervised